looking to make some little toadstools. I've just got some white icing from the supermarket, taken some out. You should be wrapping that in plastic just to make sure it doesn't dry out as you're working with the rest of the bit that you've taken off. Anyway, I've taken a bit of this fondant and you start making lots of little tiny balls. Just roll it in your hands. I've got quite a bit of icing sugar still on my hands, but believe it or not, so make tiny little balls and they're going to be the little spots on your toadstool. I've actually made a few already, so they're all ready to go. The next thing you need to do is get your stems or your stalks, not the little cap on the top. And what I do is I roll this into a little ball first, and then once it's in a little ball, then I shape it, because it then gives you a nice shape, and you just make it into a little toadstool-y shape. And the really good thing about working with things like this, it's now like a little cylinder shape, and then I plonk it. One of the things I like about working with things that are in nature, nature's not always perfect, so your shapes can be a bit rough and a bit ready, and they still look really good. Just rolling it, so roll it into a ball, then I squish the ball, and then I just roll it in my fingers. And you can just make it into the cylinder shape that you want, like that. See, these are completely different, if you can see those all right. Roll it up into a ball, roll it a little bit so it's a bit more elongated, press the sides, roll it around a bit, stretch it out a bit, whatever you want, and then you have 3 bottoms of the toadstools ready to go. Now at this stage I'll get my red colour, and what I like to do is put all my white away, and I will also put a piece of baking paper down, because working with the different colours it gets really messy, and you don't want to, if you're going to reuse your board, you don't want to make a mess with mixing colours. Right, I've just got my red fondant out, and then I've put some baking paper down because red gets very messy. I've always done my white first when making these toadstools, because your hands can get the red dye on them and you don't want that to transfer onto your pretty white bottoms and dots. And then easy enough, you just break off a little bit that you think is about the right shape for your toadstool. It might be good for the biggest one, which I'm trying not to touch the things. Just roll it into a little ball, flatten it down a bit so it becomes a bit of a toadstool shape. And again, the great thing is it's not rocket science. None of these shapes are really particularly the same, so you can kind of not be too stressed about how it works out. Then you just simply put on the top, like that. Do it again for the next one. Now, depending on the fondant that you're using, this is a really sticky red, and it always seems to stay moist. It just never seems to, it's that plastic icing in it, it never seems to dry. So I haven't actually stuck any water here. Normally you use a little bit of glue or water or fondant paste, so Tylose and water for your glue, sugar and water, or just even water depending on what you want to use. But this is so sticky I don't need to. And just put it again, there's your next bit, and probably make that a bit smaller. And they can be all different sizes, because toadstools are all different sizes. You can see the red is getting on my hands, it's really messy. Make another one, roll it in a ball, flatten it out, put it on your toadstool. And that's great. I'm actually, whoops, hopefully that doesn't happen. I'm actually going to wash my hands before I put the dots on, because again, if I put the dots on, they'll be all coloured with the red. Okay, my hands are nice and clean now, so I can then now drop my little dots on. And again, it doesn't matter really where you put them, just stick them on there at random, and away you go. Whatever you think looks good. That one's a bit of a dodgy dot actually. Might put a different one on. And the dots don't need to be any particular size, and you can put however many you want on any particular toadstool. And as you put them on, you just flatten them down a little bit. Probably can make a few more. You get the idea. So easy. Fiddly, but easy. Just dust it off. Then you have your little toadstools. and they look great around a cake. You can make them bigger, smaller, whatever you want. There you go. Just show you a little closer.